man, picked to win a race that has begun to elude him. The Tour de France bike race is leaving its mark under the sunny skies of France. Five-time Tour de France winner Bernard Hinault, whose over-the-shoulder glance only reminds him that he will always be a marked man. This athlete they call the Badger has put together one of the most talented teams in history. And riding with him is a teammate who this year may not be his willing ally. Greg LeMond has his best chance ever to win the Tour. And here in France, their battle with a race and with each other will be waged over this most alluring and challenging countryside. It began with 210 of the world's elites, including another Frenchman, Laurent Fignon. He has beaten both LeMond and Hinault, has returned from an injury, and fashioned his own dream team to help him take his third win. Cycling's larger-than-life superhero has made his presence felt everywhere. They are all three, each of them being tracked down by ambitious men riding bicycles. Two Frenchmen and one American. Caught up in the dreams of winning the Tour de France. When it's all over, only one man can leave his mark under the sunny skies of France. It's the people who line the course of the Tour de France in small towns like this one that give the race its character and its soul. Hello again, everyone. I'm John Tesh reporting. On July 27th, the Tour de France bicycle race will make its finish along the Champs-Élysées in Paris, France. Before then, an estimated 20 million or more people will see the race personally along the route. Who wins it? Well, he is the man who covers the entire 2,525 miles in 24 days in the best overall elapsed time. He is the man in the pack who wears the yellow jersey. Day one of this year's tour, Bernard Hinault wearing the yellow jersey as the defending champion. At day's end, the jersey would go to the fastest in the race against the clock, and this was Hinault's specialty. The prologue time trial, and for Hinault and riders like Olympic speed skating champion Eric Hinault in his first Tour de France, the 3-mile race against the clock was the first opportunity to make a personal statement. Hinault, competing on America's first full team in the Tour de France, and the speed skater turned cyclist, who will soon enter med school, was on his way to turn in an excellent time. Greg LeMond. In last year's prologue, Hinault's time was 20 seconds faster than Greg's, and it was important for Greg to establish himself here on day one in this year's prologue as the team leader. Laurent Fignon, his first moments in the starting house since he won the Tour in '84 and then had to sit out last year with an injury. Although the three favorites, LeMond, Hinault, and Fignon, were denied the yellow jersey on day one, it was his teammate, Thierry Marie, who had the best time and the jersey. 5 times before, Hinault had won the time trial, but not today. Was this a bad omen? And as the reporters closed in, perhaps the question in Greg LeMond's mind, with only 2 seconds separating he and teammate Hinault, which one would the 10-man La Viclaire team work for? Thierry Marie and his yellow jersey, Fignon's first lieutenant, had done well. Day 2 started with a bang as pre-race festivities got into full swing. It's just not easy working out the bugs right away. It also wasn't a simple task getting Day 2's 55-mile road race up to speed, as communist workers took the opportunity of worldwide press coverage to protest the closing of an automobile plant. No one was hurt, and things returned to normal pretty quickly. But not before yellow jersey Thierry Marie showed he had donned the appropriate color for the day's early excitement. When the racing began in earnest, it was Canadian Alex Steeda riding on the American team who decided the shortest road race in the Tour de France was a chance to become the opportunist. Steeda launched himself out on a solo breakaway. The rest of the riders failed to take him seriously. They let him go, and Steeda began a journey into the record books. He became the first North American cyclist to win the Golden Fleece. Later that day, the team time trial. 21 10-man teams riding together for 34 miles. Yellow jersey Alex Steeda and his American 711 team knew that using proper orchestration would be essential. It was in the team time trial when Laurent Fignon showed off his hot new system. Sponsored by the French System U supermarkets, Fignon's army of techno speed demons were on their way to obliterating their competition. Meanwhile, 711 was having its problems. With each team's time being added to every individual, 711 America was trying to protect their yellow jersey and failing. Fignon's band of U-men would go on to generate a win for the system, while La Viclaire's dismal rhythm left them 2 minutes behind System U. There was heartache for Greg LeMond, and also for 711 Steeda, who lost his yellow jersey and was almost dropped from the Tour for falling so far behind his team. Then last Sunday, Boulder, Colorado native Davis Phinney added more history to the Tour, becoming the first American to win a Tour road race. 134 miles long, and it was Phinney on your right at the line.
I'm just in shock. I'm utterly amazed. I can't believe it.
The overall standings after 3 days of 24 look like this, and you can see the importance of having a good team. System U's Marie back in the yellow jersey, Fignon right up there. LeMond and Bernard Hinault nearly 2 minutes behind. At this point, it was crystal clear that Laurent Fignon was back and as powerful as ever. Fignon, with his system, was burning up the Tour de France.
That's exactly what we want them to do. We want them to work. I mean, it's 3 weeks long. It's going to be impossible for them to keep their yellow jerseys that long.
The system, it would seem, is everywhere.
You know, every day in the Tour de France is another long day. Everybody gets up early. There's 23 days, there's 23 different hotels. It's the most transient sporting spectacular in the world. But there's no routine day. As the riders race along in that big pack, there's always something going on. It's certainly never boring.
It's the same in any job, and for the professional cyclist, a cup of coffee and a pleasant chat starts the day nicely. After a drink, well-trained hands remind the rider that this is no ordinary working day, but one that requires special attention. No time to read the mail either. This is an outline of the route ahead, and to those riders who don't know the way, now's the time to learn. Early stars have the chance to sign autographs and enjoy a slice of glory. And there's even time to read about what people think of you. Laurent Fignon grabs a last-minute snack on his way to the start line. It's a long day. And just like in a factory, when the whistle blows, it's time to go to work. But not everybody's so keen. With up to 7 hours pedalling ahead, there's no hurry. The day is young and the road is long. Even Felix Leviton, the organizer, is full of pleasantries for the workers. And for the moment, the lead is dormant and the Badger rests among friends. A chance for Hayden to check his wounds of days gone by. Check your brakes, sir. No need to stop for this one. A problem with the cleats on your shoes? Nothing a screwdriver won't fix. Ah, here's a rider with a knee problem. It's not the only problem he's got. You know, these long flat stages can become tedious, and there's no better way than to tune into a little music, join the Navy, or just listen in stereo. And then, if you're lucky along the route, you might just spot Papa and Mama. Marc Gomez, the ex-champion of France, has even had permission from the pack to go ahead and greet his family. What a friendly lot the riders can be at times, even though they don't stop to say hi. One basic rule in the Tour de France is that you must pedal all the way. No one says you have to stay on the road. But never underestimate the dangers of riding in a pack of over 200 riders. Elimination is just an elbow away. The miles tick by, and as the race this day approaches half distance, then lunch is taken. Riders snatch the sacks of food and then, like squirrels, store it for the remaining miles ahead. Bernard Hinault packs the food in his mouth rather than in his pockets. He's making ready with the rest for the metamorphosis that is about to take place. With lunch break over, Laurent Fignon calls on manager Cyril Guimard. And Greg LeMond prepares for the real work, which will soon begin, by putting on a hard hat. The open road ahead is now a challenging sight, and the race picks up a tempo that only the best will match. French rivals Fignon and Hinault in the sunglasses speak to each other, but neither will give anything away. If fate strikes now, a bicycle change is the only chance you'll have of getting back to the race, because the pleasantries of the morning are now a thing of the past. The Tour is now in open flight, and the huge crowds in the towns of France pack the streets to catch a glimpse of the peddlers of charm. Every day there are the adventurers like today's Johan van der Velde and Joel Pellier. They search for a stage win or even the yellow jersey. Sometimes the pack's interested, sometimes it's not. Van der Velde reads the route ahead, and the two leaders this day form a partnership from which both can profit. Behind, one team, the System U squad, are left to work the hardest. After all, it's their man who has the yellow jersey. In front of a huge crowd, Van der Velde wins the stage, and another long day in the office will end, but there's plenty more to come. The field behind have been beaten this time, but with prizes for the first 80 to finish, there's plenty to race for, and the photograph will decide the winners. And what a day for Van der Velde. He gained enough time to take the lead for the first time in his life.
After the race, it's time to think about one thing: preparing for tomorrow's race. Every day, the team mechanics take each and every bike completely apart, clean them up, and then reassemble them once again. While the athletes sleep, these guys work well into the night and are then up at dawn getting the gear race ready. Since there's a new finish line every day, someone's got to tear this stuff down and then put it back up again. 600 of these crowd control barriers have to be put away. The 500 members of the press have split town, so their area has to be dismantled. 350 of these volunteers, each of them, have the unenviable task of preparing the arenas for 24 days of the world's most grueling bike race. And they have to have it set up by 7 a.m. next day. By the way, the guy who runs the operation is a former colonel in the French Foreign Legion. The Tour de France, live in concert and always on the road. What's happened to the Badger, Bernard Hinault? Will he and Greg LeMond finally make a move against Laurent Fignon's system? The answer may come along the ocean that carried the allies of days gone by. Daybreak over the shoreline near Cherbourg, France. A crystal clear dawn presiding over peaceful sands. On the beach, a monument reflects the yellow rays of life, marking the site where brave GIs gave their lives to liberate Europe. It's peaceful here now, but 40 years of healing has not erased the memory of what happened in this place called Omaha Beach. Here along these beaches, an American landing point, were waged the bloodiest battles of the D-Day landings. From Omaha Beach, which began as a code name, the Third Army swept down through Brittany and went on to liberate France and the rest of Western Europe. In Colville-sur-Mer, there stands an American cemetery, 9,385 marble crosses. Brave young men who fought for us, each and every one. (1986), day 6 in the Tour de France bike race. The talk today, why haven't Greg LeMond and Bernard Hinault used their skills to put a stop to the System U team? Since the team time trial, Hinault and LeMond have been nearly 2 minutes behind in the overall standings. Behind System U's leader, Laurent Fignon, who looked to have a pre-race blood pressure that was barely measurable. 125 miles ahead, and the riders pull out of a town that has never seen the Tour, the elegant seaside resort of Villers-sur-Mer. Right away, Bernard Hinault lets it be known that he's had enough passive jousting and generates a breakaway off the front of the pack. Like a magnet, he draws a small group of riders along with him. This now is the daring Breton whose take-charge style has won him 5 previous Tours de France. Back in the chase group, and LeMond too lifts his race tempo, and the entire pace of the race continues to build. No one can afford to let the likes of Hinault or LeMond get a leg up here on the roads of Normandy. System U, and for once, Laurent Fignon's band of ultramen are not controlling the race, at least not yet. Greg LeMond remains behind with the system. If they make a move on Hinault, he'll go with them. The 11 escape artists have now opened a margin of 1:30, and through the 19th century towns, a Frenchman leads the attack. But his group is a talented one, and includes Ireland's Stephen Roche, who is dangerous enough to keep Hinault on his toes. The chasers, led by LeMond and System U, are now almost 1:45 behind the leaders, and the blistering pace has opened up the ranks, throwing the swiftest into a scramble in single file.
A check on the watch and the smile on the Breton faces tells the story. The first serious attack in the Tour de France is in progress. And on a day when no one expected more than a routine ride through Normandy, it's the Badger who's come out of his set in fighting mood. There's no finer time to attack than when your enemies don't expect it. And this group of 12 men push the pace up to 35 miles an hour as they speed towards Cherbourg. Greg LeMond follows the moves behind. Why should he chase a teammate? Hinault must be surprised by the way he's gathering time, but tours have been won by many errors. This is one gift he must accept. He's joined by Stephen Roach, third last year, another favourite who has fled the pack. Free as birds, everyone will help now. Unbelievably, the Vigilant System U team have allowed the unthinkable to happen, and now they must group together and try and correct their biggest mistake. Laurent Fignon, expecting a quiet day in the sunshine, is forced into action with his whole team, knowing that if the group ahead stays clear, his hopes of winning the Tour may be gone forever. The System U team chase with no help from the rest, because they know that Fignon must chase, using energy that later might cost him the race. Bernard Hinault, the winner of 5 tours, knows only too well the damage he's causing behind. The wily Breton has come out of his corner at last to show the world that at 31 he can still win the race for a record 6 times. Of all the tactics the riders might have expected, this is one they would never have thought of, because Hinault's record shows he never attacks on the flat. Exasperated, embarrassed, Fignon counters hard. He takes with him a small group, and guess who sat in at the back? Greg LeMond, wearing number 7 and enjoying a free ride on Fignon's account. The Frenchman, it seems, is in a La Vie Claire sandwich. And after an hour of freedom, the leaders begin to sense failure, and behind the relentless formation of the System U team, succeed in ending one of the most epic pursuits across Normandy of a type rarely seen in the Tour. There is still no obvious candidate for Paris. But wait. In a classic tactic, Greg LeMond, Bernard Hinault's teammate, attacks. Has he caught the field off guard? But no, because Yvon Madio, the French champion and teammate of Laurent Fignon, is ready this time. And LeMond knows now that the shocks for this day at least are over. And peace will return to the pack, who will not forget the day the Badger came out to play. And in the end, Johan van der Velde kept the leader's yellow jersey.
The standings following 6 days look a lot like they did before today's race. The difference is now there's more tension than ever before, and at least one rider is talking about it all.
It's been really aggressive the last couple of days. Everybody's nervous for the time trial in the mountains. I think everybody's waiting for something to happen, waiting for it to explode.
Love the music, it's good.
Cyril Guimard is France's most successful team manager. He's shaped the lives of many of the top riders, and he's chosen his riders from a young age and moulded them into champions. Right now, he's in charge of the System U team. And amongst the riders, there are some old faces, like Laurent Fignon, distinctive in his rimless glasses. He can remember the days of 1984 when he won the Tour de France for himself and for Guimard. Greg LeMond's world title and subsequent rise to fame was under the guidance of the man who is now from System U. Guimard also coached Bernard Hinault to 4 victories in the Tour de France. They parted when Fignon came along. 2 chiefs is one too many. Now Guimard and Fignon have developed a system of their own, using a chain of supermarkets for a super marketeer.
The Magic Man of Team System U. Who are they? Why are they so good? There are a lot of questions here, and frankly, this year's tour appears to be in the throes of... It was the team time trial when we all began noticing something a bit odd about this team. They all used those special black moon wheels, each rider wearing a yellow pointy plastic helmet, except for their leader, Hinault. Already, they had put 7 of their riders in the top 10 standings in the Tour de France bicycle race. And how do you explain a team leader named Cyril, who's already toasting with champagne? Toasting. But does he ever take a sip? Where did they come from? Why are they always riding at the front of the pack? Is this a question that will ever be answered? Who knows the answer?
It seems like they're from another galaxy. They're at the front all the time, protecting their jersey, and they're just superhuman beings.
Why are they so quick to accept free laser muscle treatments at the end of each race? And what of their leader, Hinault? Why is he always running from something? Indeed, they don't even speak our language.
Je pense que pour l'instant on est bien placé, on a très bien travaillé, on a très bien joué pour le classement général et je crois que Laurent est idéalement placé et je crois qu'il va remporter son 3e tour.
Okay, thank you, Messi. Is this a normal team vehicle?
Well, you know, we're supposed to be staying in the same hotel as those guys, but I never see them. And you know, I don't know. You see lights and, you know, things going on late at night. And Hinault, I mean, he's there at dinner, boom, he's gone. I don't know where the guy comes from or where he goes, but he definitely doesn't sleep in a bed.
All over France, they're putting up thousands of these. Young French children are even beginning to look like Hinault. The system and its U-shaped symbol, it's everywhere. Can anyone escape? System U. For the next 2 weeks, take care. Watch the podium. Watch the Tour de France. Watch the skies for...
But back in the real world of the Tour de France, System U carry on defending for Laurent Hinault. To come, though, there's a time trial. Will the system break down?
Well, this is the apartment. You can guess what they say. They say, don't you have a couch? Don't you have a dining room set? Dining room set. I do, however, have Maxwell House instant coffee. It seems to reassure most folks that I'm a reasonably tasteful guy. And after
This has always been the race about time. Over a span of many years, it's always been a race against the clock. So let's turn the clock back and take a look at history. For 83 years, many things have remained unchanged. The backdrop of the beautiful French countryside, for example. The struggle of racing each day and every day. And the glory of the victory.
À bicyclette, quand on approchait la rivière, on
For 83 years too, men have raced bicycles around the entire French countryside. They may have slowed down occasionally for a passing train, and even done a little bit of walking. But only one thing has cancelled the tour. 2 world wars on French soil also had the Tour as a casualty, but racing began again as soon as the fighting was over. Today, the Arc de Triomphe signals the end of the race around France, where the final yellow jersey is awarded. Yellow? Because that used to be the colour of the sponsoring newspaper. With heavy bicycles, no multiple gears, and with spur tyres tied about their shoulders, the Tour de France began to build its legends. No helpers were allowed in the early years, and to start next day you had to finish with your bicycle, even if broken. No one has ever said the Tour de France is easy, but to be successful, adversity must be faced with courage of the type that's endemic in this race. Danger is something a rider lives with every few minutes of the day. And the pile-ups are certain to happen. Everyone just hopes it doesn't happen to them. One tragedy above all has scarred the Tour de France, and British cyclist Tom Simpson died on the climb of Mont Ventoux, a barren, burning mountain slope in the Massif Central region. It was in 1967, on July the 13th, on stage 13, exactly 19 years ago today. Happily, most people remember the Tour by its greatest riders. Lewis and Bobet, 30 years ago, the last Breton before Hinault. Jacques Anquetil, 5 times a winner from Normandy, and now a television commentator. And the greatest rider of all time, Eddy Merckx from Belgium. Today's heroes like Bernard Hinault, this year aiming for his 6th win, have been developed because of legendary figures such as these, who have, by their very courage, shaped the Tour de France into the most grueling race on earth. This year, will there be a place in history for Hinault and a 6th win, or Greg LeMond, who could be the first American winner?
The American invasion of the Tour de France came in 1981, when a young cyclist named Jonathan Boyer was the first to ride it. Boyer moved to France in 1974. He took a 6-week crash course in French and was hired as a rider by a French team. Boyer has since retired from the Tour de France after a personal best 12th place finish. Next came Greg LeMond, who embraced the Tour in '84 and finished 3rd. The 3rd American, Doug Shapiro, was hired by a Dutch team, and he finished 74th last year. Now comes the first American-based team. Out of the Wild West, they hail as a group of eager young trailblazers. The team is sponsored by a chain of American convenience stores and an Italian industrial dishwasher company. Here in this year's Tour de France, they've already been making headlines. Alex Stida won the Yellow Leaders jersey on day 2, and although he lost it the same day, he was the first North American to wear that jersey. And then last Sunday, Davis Finney from Boulder, Colorado, became the first American to win a Tour de France road race. And then there's Eric Heiden, who would like to add a successful finish to his 5 Olympic gold speed skating medals. But their tour hasn't been easy.
It's unbelievable how hard these races are. You know, there's all these guys that are going for it, and when they get out there, they work really hard.
It's about 50% faster, 200% longer, and 100% harder. So, there's nothing like it. It's unbelievable. It's really unbelievable.
We haven't got to the hard part yet.
Ouch. No other words to describe it.
After day 8, there was yet another yellow jersey. And Ron Kiefel with the best time on that brand new American team. LeMond and Hinault almost 3 minutes back with the most telling race of the Tour yet to come.
Tour de France bicycle race. Up until now, there has been no clear showdown between the Tour's race favorites, but that could change today here in Nantes. It's an individual time trial, 38 miles alone against the watch. Here is an opportunity to jump ahead and take the Yellow Leaders jersey. Here also is a chance to fall miserably behind and lose the Tour de France.
And this is Greg LeMond's opportunity to take charge and muscle his way back to the top. At almost 3 minutes behind the overall leader, there is heavy work ahead for Greg. The view by the start and the system in Laurent Fignon have been a maddening presence here. Like a ski racer now, Le Mans balances in the start house and then 5 final ticks of the watch. There is no team for help or hindrance here. Le Mans and the others will all be alone on the course. The 25-year-old from the States who moved his family to Belgium to train rides on the French team he feels gave him a raw deal last year when they asked him to help teammate Bernard Hinault win his 5th Tour. Le Mans admits he made a mistake, and this year he says he will work for no one. Bernard Hinault, also close to 3 minutes out of the lead, has in his career always used the time trial to jump into the overall lead. Without the help of other teammates to take a turn at the lead and act as a windbreak, Greg LeMond and the others are armed and dressed like guided missiles, saving precious energy, valuable seconds. The final countdown has begun for Hinault. And for almost an hour and a half, it will be nothing but the race with the watch. Last year, it was Irishman Stephen Roche who gave both Hinault and Le Mans trouble in the mountain stages. And his time trial today could set up the dynamics for next week's trip through the Pyrenees. Entering this race, his overall time in the Tour is 1 minute better than Hinault and Le Mans. Le Mans told us before this race, this would be the Tour's first real test of its riders. And it's obvious the American has adopted one singular pace, flat out.
With 850 miles covered, but with the Pyrenees still ahead, the time trial remains the most crucial stage for those who want to stake a claim to final victory. Bernard Hinault has always been convincing in these races of truth, but age is no longer on his side, although the people here certainly are. Le Monde is the new star, but it is here where he must prove he is ready to lead his La Vie Claire team. Behind them both, Laurent Fignon prepares for his moments of truth. A winner in both the tours he's ridden, a year out with injury leaves a question to be answered. Is he fit enough to come back? No moon wheels for him in this age of advancement, but still a strange-looking bicycle. At the finish, Le Mans clocks the best time so far, despite a bike change after a puncture. Dublin Stephen Roche averaging 31 miles an hour, an incredible speed. Here's a man who could win the whole thing. And still chasing everyone, Laurent Fignon seems to be having trouble finding his rhythm. At the halfway point, he's lost 2 minutes to Hinault and slightly less to Greg LeMond. And at the finish, Bernard Hinault gives his answer, with a ride that will send chills through his rivals. Last year's winner, who openly said that this year he would ride for Greg LeMond, hits the American with a body blow and sets the best time of the day. What price now for an American winner? Still to finish, the yellow jersey of Jürgen Pedersen. He will be 6th and keep his lead for a while longer. Roche, 3rd last year, is back in the fight again, with 3rd this time on the day. Now the Tour's declared its true challengers. Even while Roche was finishing, the confident Bernard Hinault took time out for a shave before he met the press. Hinault knew that his main rival this day, Laurent Fignon, had experienced the blackest moment of his Tour career. The time trial, once his strongest event, had revealed his weaknesses after a year away from the sport. Fignon wanted right now to be alone. 2 minutes ahead of Hinault this morning, 2 minutes behind now. Even for Fignon, that was just too much.
The time trial standings, and oddly enough, the first 3 are a duplicate of last year's final standings, when Hinault won it all. The overall picture, Hinault and Le Mans back in the hunt for the leader's jersey, with Fignon in a bit of trouble.
It's 8 o'clock this Sunday evening in France, and the riders have now retired for the evening after their 114-mile road race, which did not appreciably change the standings that we just showed you. What's important to remember here, though, is that now the cyclists will enter the Pyrenees Mountains. And it was in the Pyrenees last year where that great drama unfolded involving Greg LeMond, the American, the Frenchman Bernard Hinault, and the Irishman Stephen Roche, with Hinault ultimately going on to win the Tour de France. And we'll bring you those exciting Pyrenean races next Sunday on CBS Sports Sunday. The next week, it's the Alpine stages. The most exciting racing of the Tour de France is yet to come. For now, I'm John Tesh reporting from France.
Well, John and Phil got a day off tomorrow, perhaps for a little taste of the grape. It's Bastille Day, France's celebration of independence. But they'll see plenty of action in the Pyrenees Mountains before they file their next report on CBS Sports Sunday 1 week from today. Tour de France. It's downhill now for the strong who've survived so far in this 2,500-mile odyssey. Among them, American Greg LeMond, who last year sacrificed his chance to win so that teammate Bernard Hinault could capture a 5th championship.
CBS Sports Sunday is sponsored by Bud Light. Everything else is just a light. And by Goodyear Eagles. You either have Goodyear Eagles or you need them.
LeMond in tears over a race he gave away in the Pyrenees. This year, the look of dismay from the American who thought this would be his year. Last year, a battered but victorious Bernard Hinault, whose teammate LeMond waited to help him in the Pyrenees. This year, the Frenchman is already poised to win a record 6th time. The Tour de France bike race has reached the mountains of the Pyrenees. This is the time, this is the place, and these are the men who will try to tame cycling's great race in the Pyrenees Mountains. Five times a winner, Bernard Hinault has already shown he has returned with the will and the strength to win again. Hinault's teammate, Greg LeMond, last year a reluctant team player, has insisted last year was a mistake. This year, he rides to help no one. The first days of this year's Tour de France through the flatlands of northern France. Through the peaceful towns, 210 of the best in the world, the largest gathering in Tour history. And even at the beginning of this 2,500-mile odyssey, things began to happen. Since it began July 4th, those strong enough have continued relentlessly. But now, this is the time, this is the place. These are the men who have come to win the Tour de France. And a wily Frenchman and an eager American are set for a showdown while on their way to the Pyrenees Mountains. Hello everyone, I'm John Tesh. The Tour de France bike race has reached the Pyrenees Mountains. For the next 2.5 days, millions of these spectators will line these mountain roads. People who have planned their vacations, taken off work for one thing, to be a part of the Tour de France now. For it's here in the Pyrenees where the drama of the Tour has always begun. What you are about to witness is truly one of the great sports spectacles in the world. They come out here to the middle of nowhere, really, to form this gauntlet, because all these folks know the Tour always explodes along these roads. As Phil Liggett reports, now is the time.
So after 10 days of shadowboxing in this year's Tour de France, the race is now about to begin. We're here at the base of the Pyrenees. The mountains left, all of the Pyrenees, all of the Alps. And there are now two distinct types of rider in this year's Tour. There are those who will cross the mountains with the hope of surviving and simply getting to Paris. And there's the handful who really believe they can win this Tour. They must now attack and attack hard in the Pyrenees and then in the Alps. And by the time we leave the Alps, the winner of this Tour de France will surely be known.
This most majestic arena awaits the athletes about to embrace the Pyrenees. Before it's over, at least one question will be answered. Who is the strongest in the mountains? Last year, Greg LeMond and Bernard Hinault were the best of friends. That relationship ended in the Pyrenees. The Pyrenees Mountains in the summertime. These beautiful, tranquil peaks guard well the peaceful valleys below. The music of the water and the wind is interrupted but once a year, when like a giant magnet, the mountains attract the millions who come to watch cycling's great race.
After almost 1,200 miles, the challenges in the Tour de France are clear. Bernard Hinault, the great Frenchman who's trying to become the first man to win 6 times. And Greg LeMond, friend or foe of Hinault, and desperate to become the first American winner of the world's greatest race. And out to beat them both is Laurent Fignon, twice a winner, but out last year with injury, and now he's back to prove a point. After 12 days, the Tour de France has arrived to face the highest roads in the Pyrenees, and the mountains which form a natural barrier between France and Spain are ready to reshape the Tour. The route on this 12th stage leaves Bayonne at sea level to open with the climb of the 3,700 feet Col de Berdin-Curuceta, which is as hard to say as to climb. After 2 smaller climbs, the riders move on to the Col de Marie Blanc at 3,300 feet, not so high but steeper. Finally, the descent is made from the Pyrenees this day to Po after a leg-breaking 135 miles on this, the first real test in this Tour. Like a piece of discarded string, the Berdin-Curuceta is a worthy adversary for the Angels of the Mountains. And on this first challenge, the climbers led by Hinault set a pace few will follow. Thousands of spectators have waited all day to catch a glimpse of these talented athletes who have already shed the majority of the riders by half distance. Already 10 minutes behind, the leader for 4 days, Jürgen Pedersen, is about to lose his yellow jersey. The mountains always produce the truth. Even Fignon cannot hide, and a year off with injury is too much. He too has lost the Tour on the very first climb. The double victor struggles like never before. He'll lose over 12 minutes. The man doing all of the damage, Bernard Hinault, shadowed by Greg LeMond, is confounding his critics and setting a pace that is hurting everybody. The Badger is enjoying freedom. At the top of the Berdin-Curuceta, Hinault concedes to Robert Miller, but the first mountain of this Tour has made its selection, and Hinault is still the name.
Behind the leaders are the stories of riders who struggle not to win, but only to finish. Up to this point, 30 of the 210 original starters had dropped from the Tour, and 2 Americans would be next. Today, two boys from the States not only battled the mountain, but a stomach virus that left them both weak. Doug Shapiro, on the right, finished his first Tour de France last year. But now, the 27-year-old who grew up in New York was struggling in vain. Enduring the same hardship, Shapiro's teammate and friend Chris Carmichael, whose first Tour de France will end here 1,500 miles from the finish line in Paris. It's been a brave new adventure for Team 711's first tour, carried on now by Olympic speed skating champion Eric Heiden. And also by the American who made tour history on its third day, winning a road race. Davis Finney, here recovering from a crash, fights back with the help of an unknown ally from within the crowd.
But at the front of the race, how things have changed, and Bernard Hinault has stunned everyone by attacking and going ahead with Pedro Delgado, one of Spain's greatest climbers and a marvellous ally now. Hinault has left the great climbers gasping, Miller, Claude Croquillon and Greg LeMond. Even Luis Herrera, the Colombian, who'd waited for these climbs to prove himself. How did LeMond feel now, hoping to set the pace? Again, the American is forced to follow in defense of Hinault. This great Frenchman never gives up. And off the mountain, he speeds towards Pau, thinking of gaining as much time as possible on a day when the climbers should have contained him. No one expected such a bold attack here. LeMond knows now that his friend at the dinner table is a rival on the road. But even with Hinault gaining many minutes in front, LeMond contains his natural feeling to attack and plays the perfect teammate on this climb. He just keeps an eye on them and refuses to assist in the chase. The French-Spanish tandem have made an alliance. Hinault has told Delgado that he prefers to make the pace and for Delgado to keep out of his way. This is a man trying to win the Tour, and LeMond doesn't enter in his thoughts. The American wants advice. No one could have expected Hinault would take a 5 minutes lead. These time gaps went out 20 years ago, when the Tour was won by hours, not minutes. Taking on water, LeMond has been pushed away from contender to that of a helper.
Fully 2 minutes ahead. Two men, one from Spain, one from France, joined by one common goal. Delgado and Hinault are stealing the day's race, and Hinault moves closer to the yellow jersey. These are the peaks that have for decades tested the true champions in the Tour de France. Bernard Hinault nursed along in his bout with an eye infection, which has done nothing today to slow his murderous attack. Greg LeMond, when his teammate Hinault left the pack, he left us all with a question. Has Greg LeMond's unwillingness to take risks today made him just another member of the pack? And what of Fignon? The two-time champion suffering on the climbs has virtually taken him out of the day's race. It's as if Hinault had grown tired of wearing his team jersey and was focused today on yellow. His lust for the jersey ultimately launched him out of the pack. Why did LeMond not follow Hinault's early move? Did he really think the Frenchman had taken a bad risk? And would Greg's decision here end any chance he had of becoming the first American to lead the Tour de France? At the summit of the highest climb, and the crowd barely notices Delgado, for his partner today is Bernard Hinault, who races to the chants of his name. Delgado offers Hinault a drink. It's the only bit of help he has refused all day. The partnership has been a profitable one for both men, and with the Frenchman's overall time standing, if they continue their 4-minute advantage, Hinault will be in yellow.
Since 1903, the Tour de France has shaped people's lives. Pedro Delgado poses no threat to Hinault. He's already 8 minutes behind him on overall time. Riding like the wind, Hinault is producing an attack never seen since the halcyon days of Eddy Merckx, the legendary Belgian who made a habit of achieving the impossible. LeMond checks the route. The favourite going into the Tour is now way behind, but Hinault rides on the same team. Who is the real leader? Remember the scene last year when manager Copley stopped LeMond from attacking because Hinault was behind? What's Copley saying now with the roles reversed? The hardest enemy to fight is the one who never does the predictable. And Hinault was attacked on the first day in the Pyrenees when the hardest days lie ahead. No one would want to race this soon. The only loser today could be Le Monde. This year, Le Monde has a new teammate. He speaks the same language. American Andy Hampsten is a useful confidant. In the crowded streets of Pau, Hinault plays to his people. How could you expect this man to even think of giving the race to an American on foreign soil? 2 miles behind, Le Monde, sick inside from what seems like a double cross, is paced by Hampsten and followed by Zimmermann, the Swiss champion. On this extraordinary day, Hinault is literally miles ahead, pulled by the magnet of success. And as Miller and Herrera struggle on the final small climb, they must wonder what is left for them in this race now. But Le Monde can wait no longer, and with the show of aggression the French say he doesn't have, the American, driven by anger, fights back.
At the finish, and watch Hinault in second place, who makes it obvious that he's giving Delgado the win. A personal thank you for the man who has helped Hinault into the yellow jersey. Delgado's breakaway now seen as brilliant, and Hinault's decision to join him even more so. Bernard Hinault had rolled the dice, and the risk had paid off. The decision not to join him was a costly one for the American. Greg LeMond, riding with Colombian Luis Herrera, waited too long to lift his tempo. And through the streets of Pau, LeMond's dreams of a Tour victory continue to evaporate. This is a man very familiar, very comfortable with the yellow jersey. Hinault has said he will retire after this year's race. His charge now is to hang on to the jersey through the rest of the Pyrenees and then the Alps. And still on the course, LeMond leads Herrera to the finish, 4.5 minutes behind Hinault. The Frenchman is not only in the yellow jersey, he's 5.5 minutes better than LeMond overall. The La Viclaire rider, who told the press that this year he would sacrifice himself for his American teammate, has shown LeMond and the world that when it comes to the Tour de France, winning is everything.
Think you still have your own chance?
Not sure.
Who knows?
The standings with 1,400 miles remaining, Laurent Fignon is out of contention. LeMond may be just as bad off, 5:25 back, and with some regrets.
You know, if I want to be frank, I probably should have never come on La Viclaire, because I feel I'm too close to Bernard Hinault, too close to his strength, that I end up always having to take the second position, and it's my fault. You know, I mean, I probably should have stuck with the System U or some other team. That's all I can say.
Is the Tour over, do you think?
No, I don't think so, because, you know, I have to say honestly that I'm going to take my own chance someday when I feel really good.
Frenchman Laurent Fignon, a third win is certainly out of the question now. The race and the country today belongs to another Frenchman. Would Greg LeMond be better off if he never stopped walking? Time will tell, and the decision will come here. The focus of the Tour de France, the subject on live TV and radio shows, is the yellow jersey. The tough, handsome Breton, Hinault, leads this race that has brought him the world's attention. One day after he was embarrassed by his teammate Hinault in the previous race, Greg LeMond prepares this morning for yet another 6 hours of racing. And what has happened to the invasion from the boys of System U? Well, the answer came live on French TV when System U's leader, Laurent Fignon, was found not in cycling gear, but huddled beneath hotel room sheets. Fignon, 12 minutes behind overall and diagnosed with a fever, has dropped out. The La Viclaire team, more powerful than ever, with Bernard Hinault first overall, Greg LeMond second. Two men with the ability to win, an interesting situation for the team's coach.
It's going now be a hard race for 10 days until Paris, and I'm glad to have two guys in front. I don't know who will be the winner in Paris, but one of them I'm sure will be the winner.
I told Greg last night, I think you're strong. You know you're strong when everyone else is hurt, and I think you better go for it, because when you have the chance, don't wait, you know? If you want to win the Tour, don't wait for it, go for it.
I think Greg let Hinault take the initiative in the team.
Was that a mistake?
Well, if he wants to win, he's going to have to pull back 4.5 minutes now. It's going to be difficult.
Do you think the possibility of a Tour win is gone now for Greg LeMond?
Not at all.
Why so?
Because I think he's the strongest rider in the race.
A lot of early morning talk as this war of attrition makes ready to leave the city of Po, where among other historic happenings, Béarnaise sauce was invented. Of the 2,525 miles of the Tour de France, today's 116-mile climb through the Pyrenees will be one of the toughest. It begins gently, no climbing for the first 45 miles, but then the trip up the Col de Tourmalet, a name which originally meant bad detour. The road could only be accessed by foot until the 17th century. Over the top, straight down, and then the concern is gravity. Back upstairs and the Col de Aspin. Back down again on the tortuous seesaw, and then up the Col de Parasourde, about 5 miles from the Spanish border. That's 106 miles gone. But finally, one more of the Tour's highest category climbs to the ski station of Super-Bagnères. So the ride out of Po, the largest city of the Pyrenees area, which first hosted the Tour de France back in 1930. Got started, LeMond had another one of his now famous chats with the team car. Is that the confident smile of a rider who is 5.5 minutes behind? What's on his mind? In a normal situation, LeMond would be called upon to protect his teammate's yellow jersey, for Hinault, for the team. Somehow it makes you feel like we've all been here before.
A castle stands sentinel in the Pyrenees, hiding the secrets of the past. But what of the future? The day opens with a surprise. There's always the adventurers, and Dominique Hinault, after only a mile, goes off on a lonely ride. A local man, 42 minutes behind, he has his chance. Above all, he's now the carrot for the chase. On the giant Col de Tourmalet, the riders ascend for 12 miles, and soon the climbers are back in their element. Hinault has gained over 8 minutes, but with being 42 down, he's no threat. Hinault is now in yellow as again the climbers set the tempo. And LeMond is in no doubt he wants to win the Tour, but he has to think of a way to recover 5.5 minutes from his friend and rival. All of France, it seems, awaits the answer. A year ago, Hinault was a teammate of Hinault and LeMond, but now he's in a Spanish team and near to Spain's borders. He has the distinction of being the first man across the highest road in the Pyrenees. The newspapers, by the way, are not to read. They go up under the jersey to keep the chest warm on the way down. With a face that shows the pain, Hinault has not succumbed to the climbers, but instead unnerves them all by riding in the front. Still 5 minutes ahead, Hinault goes down. Further behind, LeMond goes up, and with the summit ahead, it's not just the sun reflecting off his back, it's also the yellow jersey of Bernard Hinault.
So this pack of team leaders heads up the Tourmalet, with one team soon to face some important decisions. Near the summit in the 113-mile race's second climb, and a Frenchman is in charge of his race. The Badger, Bernard Hinault, has once again whipped his fans into a roaring frenzy. Here in this race that destroys mere mortals, Hinault is displaying his superhuman strength.
Is Hinault man or machine? Because no one expected this. 2 attacks in 2 days. certainly not Lamont, who is seeing his race dissolve before his eyes. Lamont now clings to the hope that a Colombian can pull him back into the race. Still ahead are 2 major mountain passes. Is Hinault really a Superman or a fool? In just 8 hours, this marvellously aggressive athlete has done more damage than in the previous 10 days. But at what cost to his own body? The Tour makes men, but it can also destroy them. Yet Hinault's won 5 times before. He knows the tricks the mountains can play. So is it strategy or vanity that makes the Tour leader, with a 5-minute advantage, go out for more? Over 2 minutes behind, the chasers regroup. Even they cannot work out what is in the mind of the Badger. Robert Miller and Greg LeMond keep tempo side by side, each knowing that sooner or later, one of them must attack and go after the man who doesn't know how to be second best. Miles to go, Hinault takes food. There's still the terrible climb to the finish, but everybody, friend or foe, can only admire this demonstration by a rider who has learned to endure pain as well as the glory. Win or lose, he alone is responsible for tearing the Tour de France apart. After more than 4 hours in the lead now, Dominique Hinault will succumb shortly to the inevitable. Indicate the approach of the Badger, who will soon be back in his rightful place. With the pace behind being set by the Colombians, Lamont does not look like a rider suffering from altitude. With alert eyes, is he still suffering from indecision, hoping that Hinault's own attack will be his downfall? Hinault is set to pounce, and after leading for over 4 hours, Hinault will soon slip back from the lead and into anonymity. Without a glance, Hinault continues on his way. The pursuit behind is at 60 miles an hour. And showing the strain of one of the greatest attacks the Tour has seen in maybe 10 years, Bernard Hinault is elevating himself into one of the greatest riders. The man everyone thought would work for Greg LeMond is alone and working for himself.
The ski station at Super Bagnères, the finish line for those who will make it on bicycles and those who will not. The last official vehicle in each day's race in the Tour is a van with a broom attached to the top. The broom wagon, its safe passage to the finish line for those who cannot continue. Every day, struggling riders try to escape the broom wagon, and their fans put together this bizarre relay to deny the ghoul on 4 wheels its wounded prey. Sometimes, even 1,000 friendly pushes up the mountain cannot prevent the fatigue, the heat exhaustion from taking their toll. How can you possibly climb in the mountains for more than 6 hours, knowing that even if you finish, you're still 1,300 miles from Paris? The bold and brave Bernard Hinault has begun to feel the effects of the heat and the long climbs. The pace that earlier had decimated his rivals is slower now. Behind him, a chase group has formed, including Greg LeMond. Hinault's time advantage is quickly evaporating. They
ride eagerly in search of the yellow jersey. And the man who had seemed unstoppable is for Greg LeMond and his group, at least now, reachable. Frenchman in yellow, an anxious American teammate beside him. They will speak Hinault's language. Is it a question or a command? Two men know the answer along the hellish mountain roads of the Pyrenees.
Hello, Ed's book on advertising.
The final climb to the ski station at Super Bagnères. 10 miles to go, but it's straight up. Greg LeMond and his group, including Colombian Luis Herrera and Swiss champion Urs Zimmermann in red, have passed Bernard Hinault, but not left him. Zimmermann's overall standing makes him dangerous, and if LeMond waits for Hinault, the team could be without the yellow jersey. It's clear that Hinault has encouraged the American to leave him and continue the race with the others. Hinault's pace has grown dangerously slower, and he has been passed by yet another group, including another of his teammates, American Andy Hampsten. It's now LeMond with the responsibility of controlling the race off the front. Andy Hampsten, number 5, tries to stay with England's Robert Miller. Like Zimmermann, Miller is a threat to La Viclaire's yellow jersey, and if Hampsten can't slow him down, he must at least stay with him. Like a quarterback with no one to hear his signals, Hinault can only fight his fatigue and wonder how far he is behind all the action. Hampsten and Miller join LeMond's group at the front, and now watch for Hampsten on the left. All at once, another American is in charge of this race. It's Hampsten, who with his victory in the Tour of Switzerland showed he is indeed a powerful force, and on the climb to Super Bagnères could win. A bit of indecision in LeMond's group, and Herrera begins to falter. The attention must now be focused on Hampsten, who continues a pace that could not only win him the race, but the yellow jersey. Finally, LeMond makes a move. Looks back for challengers, and there is none. LeMond goes off in search of Hampsten. Hinault uses teammate Nicky Ruderman to pace him up the climb, but he is a full 5 minutes behind. LeMond has caught and passed Hampsten and is alone at the front, and he now has a chance at the yellow jersey. To hang on. Nearing the summit, and a man whose last name in French means the world has a whole country on his side. Greg LeMond, he has won his first road race in the Tour de France. The first time an American has won a mountain road race. But the clock is still ticking. Coming into this test in the mountains, LeMond was 5.5 minutes behind overall leader Hinault. What happens behind him determines whether or not he will wear yellow. And so still on the mountain, Bernard Hinault fights to keep his jersey. Back up top, LeMond has refused interviews and is only concerned with what's happening with Hinault. LeMond on the podium for today's win, and it's one he certainly earned. Hinault would go on to finish 4.5 minutes behind Greg, but he had saved his yellow treasure. Greg LeMond had come within 40 seconds of winning the jersey.
I'm confident that I can do it. You never, you know, the Tour de France is a race unlike any other race, and you're being attacked every day, and I just hope I never have a bad day in the Alps. You know, that's something that can happen.
The standings after 13 days, 2 Americans in the top 6. That's never happened before. And LeMond is 40 seconds away from making more history. All bets are off as to the winner in Paris. The daily ritual of administering the yellow jersey, enjoyed by Hinault. How long will this last? We'll be back with today's dramatic battle in the Alps a bit later on in our program. And earlier today, the 152 remaining riders left the town of Gap on their way to the ski resort at Serre Chevalier, their first full day in the Alps. And right away, it was American Greg LeMond who attacked the mountains, and his group of climbers began to run away with the race. It was 1 year ago when LeMond was given a raw deal when his team asked him to back off his pace and help his teammate Bernard Hinault win his 5th Tour. Well, today, Hinault in the yellow race leader's jersey was being taken apart by LeMond. At the start of this stage, Hinault was only 40 seconds ahead of LeMond in the overall standings. And now, Greg was far enough ahead of Hinault to put him technically in the yellow jersey. A look back for Hinault, a real look, and Hinault was nowhere to be found. Could this really be happening? Well, it appeared to finally sink in as LeMond realized he should be paying more attention to his race. The Swiss champion Urs Zimmermann leads Greg, and suddenly he is the American's chief worry. This now is the angry Greg LeMond, the man who was promised by teammate Hinault that he would have the Frenchman's help this year. What was being said at the team car? Maybe it's what we heard early this morning before the race.
It's been really difficult for me because, you know, we have 2 leaders on the team. Both of us want to win. I always felt that, you know, a promise has been made that I helped Bernard win last year, and I felt that it was his turn to help me win this year, and it's been the contrary. It's been the battle against each other.
We're meant to be working together, not against each other. But he just told me the war is now on. That's official.
I think we'll see LeMond in the yellow jersey tonight.
An outrageous prediction? Well, maybe. In any case, the Alps were soon to tell the tale.
At last and for the first time in his sparkling career, Greg LeMond is free to ride his own race. Accompanied by the Swiss champion Urs Zimmermann, LeMond attacked on the Col d'Izoard, knowing that Bernard Hinault had already been left behind by the best on the way up the mountain. Finally, everything Greg LeMond has promised is coming true. The American who made Europe smile when he said he could win the Tour de France now has the last lap. The Badger still fights to limit his losses. The Tour has still 600 miles to go after today. Hinault knew, though, someday the rider he trained, coached and encouraged would one day become a man who could inherit all the glories that the Tour de France creates. The Col du Granon towers above Briançon and climbs 7 miles to nowhere. But Greg LeMond will soon remember this lump of granite as the place where he became the first American to lead the Tour de France. The crowd knows history is again in the making. Hinault is beaten today, but he has helped make LeMond the champion he always knew he was. Even in defeat, Hinault has every reason to feel proud this day, as all America should. Greg LeMond has only to cross the finish to become the first American to lead the race in a history that goes back 83 years.
At the summit, LeMond was the 3rd man to reach the ski station at Serre Chevalier. But of course it didn't matter. His finish was better than 3 minutes faster than Hinault. The climbing had taken its toll on Greg, but it was worth it. For now, he could wear a jersey bright yellow in color and become the first American to do so. And already Le Mans was being overwhelmed by the press. Bernard Hinault, his yellow jersey would soon be gone. And now the historic moment. Greg LeMond in yellow. The blonde-haired, blue-eyed bike rider from Nevada was now leading the greatest bike race on Earth. The standings after 17 days, LeMond in the lead. The man in the middle, Urs Zimmerman. Afterwards, LeMond put the personal battle with Hinault behind him and put the focus on the finish line in Paris.
I think that Bernard realizes maybe that he can't win it now, and I think that Bernard's the type, I mean, normally he'd really keep his word, but, you know, he's been under a lot of pressure, and I think now that I've got a clear advantage over him, I think he really will support me 100%.
Back here at our base of operations this Sunday evening, the French Alps, where we feed you our program via satellite. The riders have long since retired for the evening, Greg LeMond with his historic yellow jersey tucked away in his hotel room drawer. But the race is not over for Greg LeMond or the other riders, because upcoming this week, two of the most torturous stages so far, 2 more days through the French Alps. The week ends up with a glittering ride down the Champs-Élysées for the man who can win the 1986 Tour de France. Will Greg LeMond be able to hang on to his first yellow jersey? Will Bernard Hinault be able to take it away from him and win his historic 6th? We'll have it all for you.